Discover the incredible moment when a billionaire's unexpected gesture transforms a single mom's life forever. The bell above the door jingled as Jack Matthews stepped into the diner, the smell of sizzling bacon mingling with the rich aroma of brewed coffee. To him, this was a world far removed from his own, a place where smiles were genuine and laughter echoed like a melody. Across the room, Sarah stood behind the counter, flipping pancakes and serving regulars with a warmth that made her favorite mug-shaped coffee cup look less like a vessel and more like a comfort. Yet, behind her cheerful facade, shadows loomed. Her 10-year-old daughter, Mia, deserved a life brimming with possibilities, a life Sarah barely believed could be hers. Each shift at the diner felt like a race against time, a frantic scramble to make ends meet. Even as she laughed with her customers, the weight of their expectations bore down on her shoulders. She wanted to tell them about the college brochures she hid inside her drawer, filled with dreams she felt were out of reach. "Mom will make it work, don't worry," she had taught Mia to say at school, but each declaration chipped at her soul, painting her truth in bold despair. Her husband had walked out, leaving her adrift with tight finances and a fading hope. Could she ask for help? The very thought clawed at her pride, igniting an internal battle that kept her up late at night. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jack watched Sarah navigate the diner, something stirred within him, a mixture of admiration and unfulfilled yearning. Her easy laughter and resilience drew him in, igniting feelings he hadn't felt in years. He found himself compelled to leave generous tips, showering her with small, affectionate acts of kindness, a toy for Mia here, a compliment there. Yet, each gesture only deepened Sarah's conflict. Was this pity, or did he genuinely care? Allowing someone to see her as a burden was agonizing. The distance between their worlds felt impossible to bridge. Then came Jack's offer to mentor her in opening her bakery, a dream born out of her late-night hopes. But scorching fear pulled at her heart. Accepting would mean exposing her vulnerabilities, admitting she needed someone, staining the independence she fought so hard to defend. A miscommunication exploded into frantic words and hurt feelings, sending Jack spiraling from her life. She stood in the kitchen, surrounded by the scent of tasks left undone, the hurts fresh and raw. Maybe it was all just a distraction, she whispered to herself, battling a sense of hopelessness that clawed at her insides. Darkness cloaked the diner now, peeling away the laughter that once echoed through its rooms. Pressure mounted with each failed attempt to shake off the despair crumbling her resolve. Could she forge ahead alone, or would she let doubt suffocate her aspirations? As Jack's absence settled over her, Sarah felt an unexpected fire ignite within. The prospect of an unfulfilled life haunted her, driving her to confront a choice: reach out and grab for help, or retreat into the shadows of her struggles, cloaking her spirit in emotional chains. At that moment, Sarah hung in the balance, poised on the edge of transformation, waiting for a chance encounter with fate to jolt her world back into motion. Would she dare step closer to the light, or would fear dictate her next move? The question loomed heavy in the air, thick with unspoken truths, waiting to explode into clarity. The days following Jack's abrupt departure felt excruciatingly long for Sarah. The air inside the diner was heavy, almost suffocating. Customers chatted energetically, but their words passed over her like a distant murmur. Each pancake she flipped was a reminder of her internal turmoil, each order called out to her like a siren song, nudging her towards the precipice of change. The ache of Jack's rejection festered within her, pushing her further into a pit of self-doubt. Yet, amidst the ongoing storm of her emotions, a flicker of determination began to take shape. She couldn't allow fear to silence her dreams. The thought of opening her bakery had always sparkled brightly in her mind, and despite the lingering uncertainty, it summoned her like a lighthouse beckoning a ship lost at sea. One evening after the diner closed, Sarah sat at the small kitchen table in her cramped apartment, the light from a single bulb casting a warm glow over the scattered college brochures. She reached for them, her fingers trembling. Each glossy page contained promises of a future that felt within reach yet terrifyingly distant. The very act of reading them felt like a bear trap snapping shut around her heart. The decision felt enormous and irrevocable. She flipped through the brochures, letting the words wash over her. Baking programs, apprenticeship opportunities, financial aid information. Could she step into a world of possibility? Did she even have the right to attempt such a leap? The voices of her fears echoed louder, trying to drown out her budding hope. But the thought of Mia listening to her distracted thoughts, seeing her forsake her dreams out of fear, compelled Sarah to sit up straighter. What kind of mother would she be if she did not chase the dreams she wanted her daughter to emulate? The true danger lay in complacency, not vulnerability. She could no longer live trapped in a cocoon of pride and hurt. The next day, her shift ended, and the diner had emptied out. She took a deep breath, nerves buzzing in her veins, and picked up her phone. Would it be embarrassing? Would Jack even want to hear from her after everything? The moments of hesitation felt monumental, but as she saw Mia's drawing of a bakery taped to the fridge, she felt an odd sense of resolve. With one reluctant thumb, she typed out a simple message, "Can we talk?" The reply came swiftly, much to her surprise, "Of course." When? Just that single exchange ignited a flutter of cautious hope in her stomach. She set a time to meet and quickly enlisted the help of her entrepreneurial friend to prepare a few notes about the bakery she wished to pitch. This time, it would be different. She would be clear about her vision without the weight of her past burdens dragging her down. As the day of their meeting approached, her mind raced between excitement and paralyzing fear. What if Jack dismissed her ideas outright? What if he saw her again as a burden instead of a partner? The questions bounced around her mind like errant ping-pong balls, but within the chaos, she grasped onto fragments of self-empowerment. This was her chance to redefine the narrative, to take control over her fate. The meeting spot was a quaint cafe that smelled of cinnamon and fresh bread. As she entered, she saw Jack sitting at a corner table, his back turned to her. For a fleeting moment, she wanted to run. But instead, she straightened her shoulders and advanced forward, clutching her notes like a shield ready for battle. With each step towards him, clarity washed over her. Opening a bakery would not only fulfill her dream, it would allow her to embody all the resolve she wanted Mia to inherit. This could be the moment they both transformed. As she approached, her heart thudded loudly in her chest. The moment of truth was upon her, and she could almost sense the air shifting around them, charged with possibility. "Jack," she breathed, gathering her courage. "I want to talk." And in that instant, everything hung in the balance. Would this lead to new beginnings, or would it spiral into another painful goodbye? Jack looked up, his expression revealing nothing. The casual demeanor that once put her at ease now felt like a barrier. For an instant, their gazes locked, and Sarah searched for the warmth she once knew, but it wasn't there. Instead, a whirlpool of emotions swirled within her. "Sure," he replied, his voice neutral, almost flat. The tension in the room grew heavier, draping lack of warmth on their reunion like a damp quilt. She slid into the chair opposite him, hands clammy around her notes, and took a fortifying breath. "I've been thinking," she began, her voice quivering slightly but gaining conviction. "About the bakery." Jack leaned back, folding his arms across his chest. "You still want to do that?" "More than ever," she asserted, feeling the flicker of hope surge again. "This isn't just a whim for me. I need it for my future, for Mia's future." His brow furrowed in contemplation. "And what about everything else? Your job here, the bills, the responsibilities?" The questions rang true, yet they felt like anchors sinking her dream. Each one was another wave crashing against her resolve. "I've been honest with myself these past weeks," she replied, leaning forward. "I've had time to think about what I truly want. I won't wait for things to fall into place anymore. I want to give my daughter something to aspire to." Jack watched her closely, his eyes narrowing slightly. She swallowed the lump in her throat and pressed on. "I want to provide a life for her where she can see me chase my dreams. I want her to know it's okay to strive for what you love." "And what if you fail? What if you end up with nothing?" His words pierced through her, igniting a fire coursing through her veins. What if I succeed? What kind of woman would I become? I can fail at staying here, or I can risk failing while chasing something worth pursuing. But I want to find out. Jack's expression shifted slightly. She could almost see the gears turning in his mind. You're talking about more than just baking, he finally said. You're talking about transforming your life. Yes. The enthusiasm spilled out like a gust of warm air sweeping away winter's chill. I can start small here, build a part-time venture and grow from there. I've already got a few ideas for recipes that Mia and I have been experimenting with. Imagine a bakery that not only serves pastries but is a space for families to connect over food. The glimmer of interest flickered in his eyes, yet he remained guarded. Have you thought about the costs? The time? You'll have to balance it all. It struck her like a bolt of clarity. Everything she loved, the baking, the dreaming, the risks, came with uncertainty. Perhaps this was the moment to put it all on the table. I'm willing to explore funding options. I might need a loan, but I can create a plan. I want to be strategic, she said. I want to shy away from the hard work when it comes to building something that matters. Jack leaned in, his demeanor softening, curiosity threading through the layers of his skepticism. You seem passionate, Sarah. But I have to ask, why me? Why do you want to bring this to me? I need someone who believes in me. I need your expertise. Even as the words left her lips, the thought of involving him rekindled flickers of uncertainty. Yet, vulnerability hung thick in the air, and the resolve she felt in those moments propelled her forward. I need you to see me not just a waitress or a single mom. I want you to see me as the woman who has the potential to rise above all of this. The silence that followed was thick and pregnant with changing dynamics. Jack looked away momentarily, his brow furrowing as if weighed by his thoughts. But the silence within her roared, urging her to press forward. Please, she added, softer this time. Help me believe I can do this. Just like that, they teetered on the edge of a significant decision, trembling between support and doubt. Jack's eyes went thoughtful, deep in a contemplative haze that reflected his own internal conflict. Okay, he finally said, an edge of uncertainty weaving through his tone. And with that promise, both their futures hung uncertainly in the balance. It was not merely about a bakery, but a pivotal crossroads that raised deeper questions about ambition, fear, and the possibilities of collaboration. The time had come to confront the truth of what they could accomplish together or fracture under the weight of their shared past. Sarah spent the next few days in a haze of anxious anticipation. The conversation with Jack replayed continuously in her mind, the glimmers of hope battling with waves of self-doubt. The bakery concept surged in her thoughts, intermingling with visions of Mia, her sweet smile, and the life they could build together. Each morning, she rose with a sense of purpose and unease. At work, she pushed herself to stay focused despite her racing thoughts. Every cup of coffee she brewed and every plate she delivered felt like an exercise in shadowboxing. She was wrestling with her ambition while maintaining a facade of normalcy. The clatter of dishes and chatter of patrons formed a chaotic soundtrack, and yet, within it, she found fleeting moments of clarity, snippets of her vision for the bakery surfacing when she least expected it. One afternoon, during a lull between the lunch and dinner rush, Sarah took out her notebook. The pages felt like a canvas waiting for color. Ideas flowed onto it, recipes, layout plans, names for the bakery sliced through the thick fog of uncertainty. She didn't have it all figured out, but her initial sketches hinted at a culinary goal beyond mere pastries, an inviting place where families could gather, share experiences, and leave with warmed hearts and bellies. Yet, as moments of excitement flickered, insecurities wrapped around her heart like vines, tightening with reminders of her reality. What if she failed? What if it all crumbled like a poorly baked soufflé? Determined to bolster her resolve, Sarah decided to approach Jack again. She fixed her gaze in the mirror that morning, dialing back her doubts. She was not merely a waitress or a struggling single mother, she was a woman capable of change, a mother who was ready to embrace her dreams, no matter how lofty. When she finally saw Jack in the break room, her heart raced. This time, there was a different energy. She approached him, her palms clammy but her spirit ignited. "Can we talk?" They stepped outside, where the air felt charged with possibility. Under the bright sun, she felt raw yet determined. "I've been thinking about our conversation. I'm ready to get serious about the bakery idea." He regarded her, his expression inscrutable. "I didn't think you'd bring it up so soon." "I want to lay out a plan," she asserted, each word fueled by adrenaline. "I've crafted ideas for funding, potential recipes, and even a basic outline for what the bakery could become." Jack's brows lifted, his skepticism momentarily replaced by curiosity. "You have all that?" "More than what's in my head," she said passionately. "I want you to help refine this. Your insights could make a world of difference." Jack studied her. "Okay. Let us schedule some time to really break this down." Gratitude surged within her, accompanied by an unshakable determination. With each confirmed meeting, the faint echoes of doubt gradually receded, replaced by a growing sense of agency. As days morphed into weeks, their brainstorming sessions unfolded. Jack's expertise meshed with her creative ideas, and what began as a vague dream transformed day by day into concrete possibilities. Every discussion brought clarity, every strategy honed her focus. Yet, the closer they grew to outlining steps toward the bakery, the more Sarah became aware of the intricate layers of their shared past that still loomed above their tête-à-tête. As they delved deeper into planning, Jack revealed snippets of his own aspirations long buried under layers of high expectations and corporate duties. "I used to dream of opening a cafe of my own," he admitted one afternoon, his gaze drifting into the distance. "But life took over, and I just gave in." The surprise of Jack's vulnerability awoke something within Sarah. In that moment, she realized their paths were not devoid of intersections, both were chasing dreams stifled by their respective realities. Could this venture be a way to confront not only their fears but also their desires? The weight of potential hung delicately between them, filled with excitement for what could come next. Just as ideas flowed and plans solidified, Jack paused, a thoughtful look crossing his face. "It'll take time and commitment, Sarah. Are you sure you know what you're getting into?" With the world they were building teetering on the brink of realization, she met his gaze, resolute. "I'm not just chasing a bakery anymore. I'm confronting everything, myself, my past, and what I want for Mia." Jack breathed deeply, clearly weighing this newly revealed honesty. The question lay heavy in the air: would their collaboration lead to transformation, or would it expose deeper fractures they both had yet to confront? In that pivotal moment, the stakes felt higher than the mere pursuit of pastries. It was a dance of healing amidst ambition, where they both found themselves at a crossroads yet again. And as Sarah stood on the precipice of possibility, she couldn't help but wonder, what would she discover about herself when she fully committed to her dreams beyond the bakery? Every session with Jack transformed Sarah's understanding of not only the bakery but herself. They met in the afternoons, and each brainstorming session morphed into impassioned discussions about vision, branding, and the essence of community, a world she had longed to create. Ideas flowed like batter into molds, shaping the future she had only dared to sketch until now, but with intensity came friction. One afternoon, as they meticulously refined a business plan, the conversation took a turn that sent a shockwave through Sarah. "What's your exit strategy? You can't just throw all your dreams into the oven without knowing when to pull them out," Jack prompted, a slight edge creeping into his tone. Her heart sank. "I didn't think about that. I just want to create something meaningful." "I didn't realize it came with timelines." Jack leaned back in his chair, assessing her with a mix of concern and incredulity. "You need to be strategic. It's not just about passion. You have responsibilities. Mia depends on you." His words stung. For a moment, she felt vulnerable, stripped of the confidence she had been building. "Are you saying I should hold back? That I shouldn't pursue what we've been working on?" "Not at all," he replied, his tone softening. "You've got potential for something great, but you need to approach it like a business. You can't afford to let emotion cloud your judgment." His pragmatic view clashed violently with her emotional investment, and the tension loomed heavily in the air. Could she trust her instincts while balancing the undeniable weight of reality? As her stomach twisted with uncertainty seeped into her resolve, days turned into restless nights filled with questions haunting her mind. Was Jack right? Would her dream demand more than she was prepared to give? The following week, they planned a session to focus on financial estimates, a vital aspect Sarah had been avoiding. Facing sheet after sheet of figures sent her spiraling into anxiety, but she pushed through, desperate not to let fear derail her flight. As they ran the numbers, Jack's expertise illuminated a path she hadn't envisioned. You'll need initial funding, probably around $50,000 to get things off the ground, he stated matter-of-factly. Do you have a plan for where to get that? Her thoughts momentarily blanked, drowning in an ocean of plausibility. I plan to look into small business loans, but you should also consider investors, he interrupted, eyes narrowing into contemplation. Find someone passionate about food who's willing to take a chance. You might even know someone. The mention of investors jolted her. The idea of exposing her dream to outsiders set her heart racing, not out of excitement, but dread. Could she justify sharing her vision, and what would it mean to be scrutinized by strangers? The mere thought sent her spiraling into self-doubt, yet, as the numbers solidified on the page, another revelation began to unfold. Rather than just the bakery being at stake, it was a reflection of her very identity, a blend of fear and hope, a testament to resilience. Embodying strength, she turned to Jack. I can find investors. I'll attend events, I'll pitch myself and the bakery concept. But I need you by my side. Surprisingly, he smiled, an expression filled with genuine warmth and respect. That's the spirit. We'll prepare a pitch deck. You're ready for this, Sarah. His encouragement unlocked a profound realization within her, that vulnerability could be a source of strength, not merely a chink in her armor. The awareness of her own capacity to confront the fear of failure invigorated her. Since then, each step taken toward the bakery's reality mirrored a step taken toward her renewed identity. The more she delved into planning and executing, the more confident Sarah grew. However, beneath this blossoming assurance remained an unwelcome vestige of doubt. Each meeting with potential investors would be a test of not just her business acumen, but a plunge into her own psyche and exploration of worthiness, and thus, as Sarah prepared her pitch with renewed vigor, another layer of ambivalence loomed overhead. Could she truly convince others of her vision when she sometimes struggled to convince herself? The stakes continued to rise, as did the intensity of her self-discovery. This next meeting with potential investors loomed on the horizon, and Sarah knew it would force her to confront not just her professional aspirations, but the essence of who she had become in pursuit of them. As she stepped into the next phase of her journey, she couldn't shake the thought that she was on the brink of a monumental revelation, one that might finally bridge her ambitions and her deepest fears. As the day of the investor meeting approached, Sarah immersed herself in preparation. The pitch deck, a vivid layout of her vision, was laid out meticulously. Each slide represented a facet of her dream, her passion for baking, her community-focused brand, and her ambitions to create a haven for others. Her excitement mingled with an ever-present undercurrent of anxiety. She needed to convey not just the numbers but the story behind them. What did the bakery mean to her? It was not merely about profit margins or consumer demographics, but rather the beating heart of her aspirations and personal reinvention. Taking a deep breath, Sarah reminded herself why she started this journey, to build something beautiful from the raw ingredients of her life. And the quiet moments leading up to the meeting, she confronted her reflections in the mirror. She scrutinized her outfit, a deep blue blazer that made her feel authoritative and composed. Yet, beneath the professional facade lay the remnants of doubt, like a stubborn ingredient wedged between layers of cake batter. Would her story resonate, or would she crumble under the gaze of her audience? Arriving at the conference room, Sarah's heart raced. Investors milled about, chatting casually, their presence felt like a weight. She gripped the folder tightly, a talisman of her hard work, yet every stride toward her platform seemed heavier than the last. Finally, it was her turn. As she began her presentation, she noticed the mixture of skepticism and interest in the investors' expressions. With each carefully crafted point, she worked to navigate their questions, which grew increasingly pointed at times, painfully critical. Why should we invest in you? One man asked. What distinguishes your bakery from others? Why do you believe you can succeed where many fail? For a fraction of a second, her voice faltered, a sharp pang of self-doubt striking hard. But then Sarah remembered her daughter, the reason behind her unyielding resolve. She spoke, her words gaining fervor. Because it's not just about baking. It's about building a community and creating a space for people to connect over something as simple yet profound as bread. I understand the struggles of a small business because I've lived them. Their eyes gleamed with curiosity, her words sparking a flicker of engagement. Yet, she was aware that vulnerability had its price. Where they saw enthusiasm, she recognized the potential for judgment. Was she truly the right person for this opportunity? The meeting continued with a series of rapid exchanges, and just when Sarah felt her confidence surging, a question lingered in the air. What happens if you don't succeed? The weighted inquiry cut deeper, sending a ripple through her composure. As she heard the words echo in her mind, a wave of familiarity washed over her, a reminder that failure had hovered close by her whole life. Then I'll learn, she answered, surprising even herself. I'll learn and grow, and I won't give up. Because giving up is not an option. A few nods from the investors bolstered her spirits, but she knew she needed to maintain this momentum. As she concluded her pitch, a sense of clarity emerged. She realized that the greatest investment she was seeking wasn't just financial support but a belief in her vision, a validation of her journey. The investors exchanged murmurs as she stepped back, flushed and energized yet apprehensive about the impending judgment. Would they see the worth in her dreams? As the discussion turned to financial projections and potential returns, Sarah seized the moment. I'm not just asking for money, she ventured, tone steady. I'm asking you to believe in something bigger than numbers, something that has the potential to touch lives. In that instant, she felt a shift within her. No longer merely a seeker of validation, she was embracing her inherent worth. But amidst her growing confidence, a shadow lingered at the corner of her thoughts, the potential repercussions of rejection. As she awaited their decision, anticipation coursed through her, knowing. She had bared more than just her plans, she had offered a piece of herself. And while she craved affirmation, she also confronted a nagging truth. The journey ahead was fraught with unpredictability, and she had to be ready for whatever came next. In this moment of vulnerability laced with determination, she resolved to navigate the outcome with grace, whether it led to triumph or a transformative lesson. The question still loomed in her mind, though. Could she face the reality of failure while holding on to the hope of success? The investors' deliberation began, and as she watched their expressions, Sarah felt a flicker of foreboding. In this arena of dreams and desires, would she find the validation she sought, or would the reality of her ambitions force her to reconsider everything she had built? The tension in the room was thick, each investor absorbed in their deliberation, eyes occasionally flicking towards Sarah as if weighing more than just her business proposal. Her heart thudded in her chest, the silence amplifying her thoughts. What would happen if they said no? Would that indictment cost her the courage to dream any further? She shook her head, dispelling the frenzied thoughts that threatened to spiral her into a pit of anxiety. Instead, she focused on the small details that anchored her: the faint scent of coffee drifting from a nearby table, the muted chatter outside the conference room, the rhythm of her breath, steadying her resolve. These reminders of life outside the boardroom kept her grounded as she waited for their decision. Then, the lead investor, a man with a perpetually discerning gaze, cleared his throat, beckoning silence. The others turned their attention toward him, and Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Sarah, he began, his tone measured, your passion is evident, and that is commendable. However, you're asking us to invest in an industry where many have failed. There's significant risk involved. Each word hit her like a drumbeat, a litany of skepticism she had anticipated but now had to confront head-on. She took a breath, knowing she had to respond. I understand the risks involved. That's not lost on me. But what's also not lost is my understanding of the market. I've identified gaps that larger franchises miss. My bakery will harness not only unique recipes but also a genuine connection to the community. The investors exchanged glances, and she sensed a shift in their body language. Maybe they were contemplating her words, evaluating their preconceptions. Perhaps, she thought, this moment could serve as an opportunity to present her resilience. What do you bring to the table beyond just passion and market analysis? Another investor challenged, a hint of condescension woven through his inquiry. Each word felt like a blade daring her to bleed. Instead of faltering, Sarah leaned into her own life story, her struggles, her choices, the sacrifices she had made to get to this point. I've learned that passion isn't just about baking, it's about the life that comes from experience. I'm not just another entrepreneur, I am a single mom who has navigated hardship and emerged more resolute in my mission. My bakery won't just serve pastries, it will serve hope. With each sentence, Sarah could feel conviction rising within her, pushing back against self-doubt. The conviction laid bare the skeleton of her tenacity, a thread woven through her experiences, tying each challenge to her determination. As the lead investor contemplated her response, tension began to thaw. It was as if vulnerability had opened an avenue for connection. You've touched on something important, resilience, he mused. Tell me, if we were to invest, what would be your immediate plan? At that moment, Sarah recognized the power of the question. This wasn't just a deal on the table, it was an opportunity to show how deeply she understood not just the baking process but also the lifeblood of her vision, the operational and financial strategies that would sustain it. She laid out her plan with enthusiasm, detailing a robust outreach to local farmers for ingredients, a partnership with nearby suppliers reflecting her commitment to both quality and community. With every figure and every connection she shared, she could feel her confidence crystallizing. She was painting a picture not only of a bakery but of a thriving hub that would come to life through their investment. The investors leaned in, intrigued, and as the room shifted, so did her perception of her ambitions. This was not simply pitching for money, she was advocating for a dream that deserved recognition, but as the conversation progressed, the looming specter of potential rejection still resided at the edges of her heart. Could she truly handle the weight of failure after laying bare so much of herself? Just as she pondered this, the lead investor spoke again. We need a little more time to consider our options. A declaration that felt both familiar and terrifying, resting between hope and uncertainty. The room erupted into conversation as the investors regrouped. Sarah stepped outside for fresh air, clutching her folder tightly, knowing this moment, not just the pitch but the willingness to share her essence, was a victory in itself. She had put herself forward amidst her fears, yet, as she stood there, a new layer of doubt crept in. What if this was as close as she got to her dream? The dream that seemed to shimmer just out of reach, always taunting her with its proximity. Determined not to let the pressure consume her, she thought of her daughter. The realization struck hard: success was an evolving journey, not a single moment of approval. Whatever the outcome, she was becoming the woman capable of forging her path, step by step. But just then, she heard a commotion behind her, a familiar voice, one that carried an unexpected weight, calling Sarah's name. She turned, her heart pounding anew. The lead investor was walking towards her, flanked by two others, their faces betraying a mix of sincerity and urgency. Sarah, we need to talk. There are some things we'd like to propose. What could this mean? In that moment, her breath caught, the uncertainty of her future amplifying with each step they took. Would this conversation steer her closer to her ambition, or would it change everything she thought she understood? Sarah straightened, her grip tightening on the folder as the three investors approached. Each step they took resonated in her chest, a sign that something significant was about to happen. Their expressions were sober, signifying the weight of their intent. She released a shaky breath, reminding herself to be poised even as her heart raced. Thank you for stepping outside, the lead investor said, his features now softened, revealing an unexpected regard. We've had a chance to discuss your proposal further, and I must admit, we're intrigued by your vision. However, we also believe there are gaps in your strategy that we need to address before moving forward. Sarah felt a flood of mixed emotions, anticipation tinged with trepidation. What gaps do you mean? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. This was her opportunity to both advocate for her vision and demonstrate her willingness to adapt and learn. The second investor chimed in, your community engagement is commendable, but there's a concern about your marketing approach. How do you plan to attract customers beyond your loyal friends and family? You need to think about scalability. This was her moment to dig deeper into her knowledge. I have a plan for that, she replied, her confidence re-emerging. I believe in leveraging social media to create buzz. I'm also considering hosting local events to draw in diverse crowds, baking classes, pop-up markets, something that connects people directly to the baking process. As she spoke, the third investor's skepticism morphed into intrigue. That's a good start. But have you considered how you will sustain engagement? You need a strategy to keep customers coming back, not just for events, but for the detailing of your brand. With renewed resolve, Sarah took a deep breath, realizing this exchange was a chance to showcase more than just baking skills. I can integrate a loyalty program that rewards regular customers, creating a sense of belonging. And my idea is to introduce seasonal flavors based on local traditions, ensuring there's always something new for the community to anticipate. As Sarah detailed her ideas, she felt the investors leaning in closer. Their intent gaze transformed from critical observations to genuine interest. The realization that she could change the course of this conversation invigorated her. This wasn't just about securing funds, it was about asserting her identity as an entrepreneur and mother resilient enough to weather scrutiny. However, the lead investor interrupted gently, "We need to ensure your pricing aligns with the community's income levels. It's crucial." Suddenly, a thought struck her, threading through her mind like a lightning bolt. I can incorporate a pay-it-forward system. For every pastry purchased, a portion could contribute to a community fund. This makes it not just a bakery, but a symbol of giving back. It directly links our success to the welfare of the community. Silence fell. The investors exchanged glances, the weight of her proposal lingering in the air. Sarah felt a pulse of adrenaline, she could see their perceptions shifting. Instead of merely reciting a business plan, she was weaving a narrative of connection, mutual benefit, and shared resilience. As they began discussing these new ideas, the lead investor finally asked, "With all these adjustments, are you open to re-evaluating your ask from us? We want to ensure our investment aligns with expanding your vision, but it's going to involve compromise for you and us." In that moment, Sarah realized how critical this negotiation was, not just for her bakery but for her growth. Standing at this crossroads, she could feel the weight of responsibility not just for herself but also for her daughter. The idea of compromising her vision made her stomach churn, yet the thought of anchoring her dream in the reality of their feedback was an exhilarating challenge. Her moment of truth loomed. I want to build something that's truly reflective of my values while being viable, she responded cautiously. Let's discuss what that looks like together. I want this to be a partnership, not just a transaction. Just as a tentative agreement began to form, the third investor interjected, "There's one more concern we need to address, and it may require a deeper conversation." Sarah's heart plummeted. This was the moment where apprehension could cloud the progress she'd made. "What is it?" "Your market extension plans to nearby neighborhoods could be seen as overly ambitious," he said, the challenge lingering in his tone. "We need to ensure you can manage that growth effectively. What do you think?" The uncertainty gripped her anew, and for a split second, her confidence shook. How could she carry the weight of ambition while grappling with the fear of failure? As she stood there staring into the eyes of the investors, she realized that overcoming this fear was fundamental to her success. This was not just about business, it was about her identity and her ultimate destination. The questions now hung heavier than ever. Could she truly handle the demands of expansion without losing sight of her original vision? As she prepared to answer, she felt something shift within her, an unyielding resolve forming amidst uncertainty. Whatever the outcome, this was her chance to compose herself, to rise to the occasion. The journey was not merely about baking, it was a test of her capability to embrace the unknown and transform potential into action, and with that, she knew she was ready to confront what lay ahead. But as that thought solidified, she caught a glimpse of another investor entering the room, awaiting responses, shifting the dynamic yet again. What would this mean? What further twists awaited her as the stakes climbed higher? Sarah's mind raced as the new investor made his way to the small circle. The room felt charged, every side eye and subtle nod igniting her trepidation. She instinctively straightened her posture, forcing her gaze to lock onto the newcomer's face, searching for clues. What role did he play in this delicate web of negotiations? "Sorry to interrupt the conversation," the new investor said, a polite smile drawn across his face. "I'm just here to touch base before we all make our final commitments." His voice was smooth, yet there was an undercurrent of authority that set her heart pounding. As the investors resumed discussing her proposal, Sarah shifted her focus inward, battling a whirlwind of emotions. The collective weight of their scrutiny felt almost suffocating. She had just fought so hard to position herself as not just a businesswoman but a visionary, and yet here she was on shaky ground once again. "Sarah," the lead investor said, breaking her reverie. "We need clarity from you regarding your scalability plan. How can we ensure you're ready for the growth that's being proposed?" Her instincts kicked in. This was where she needed to shine, to assert her knowledge with newfound authority. "I've been mapping out a growth strategy that involves real-time feedback from our customers," she began, feeling her nerves settle slightly. "Engagement will be twofold: drawing customers in while they're baking, and soliciting their insights as part of our offerings. This method creates advocates within our customer base." Eyes brimmed with interest, the investors leaned closer. Sarah pushed forward, buoyed by their attention. "By analyzing trends, we can reproduce bestsellers and phase out underperforming options. This adaptable structure will be essential as we expand." The lead investor nodded, and the third investor continued jotting notes, but the new presence beside him remained immovable. It was impossible to read his expression. It was a mask of neutrality. This added pressure made her heart race anew. Many businesses fail to assess their operational efficiency amid growth phases. The newcomer interjected, his tone clinical. "You must ensure your supply chains are robust. What's your strategy for that?" A tremor of self-doubt broke her momentum as she considered the logistics. "I plan to build partnerships with local farms and suppliers," she responded, her voice steadier now. "By fostering relationships with those who share my values, I'll secure quality ingredients while also being responsive to community needs. It's about forging deeper connections." Something shifted in the room in acknowledgement of her effort. She glimpsed the faintest smile from the lead investor, a thread of encouragement renewing her confidence. This was more than mere business. It was a chance to craft something integral, something meaningful. Yet, the newcomer's gaze bore down on her, and she caught herself wondering, was he weighing her every word? Would his final say carry more weight than the others? As she navigated through their inquiries, she found unexpected clarity in her responses. Her mind no longer toiled in the labyrinth of fear. Instead, genuine purpose overtook the doubt that had previously raged within her. She was unearthing her commercial instincts, honing visions that transcended mere profit. But the newcomer interrupted, a shrewd tightening of his mouth indicating might not be finished. "Scalability means bringing systems and teams into play to handle increased demand. How do you plan to recruit, train, and retain staff that can keep up with your evolving business model?" Her chest tightened. This was a pivotal moment. If she faltered, it could all unravel. "I plan to create a culture rooted in mentorship and growth," she said, her voice gaining strength. "I want my staff to be invested in our mission, training them not just to bake but to be passionate advocates for our brand. It's crucial we build a team that feels valued, as they will be essential to our story. Together, we can cultivate a loyal labor force that mirrors our customer base." As those words hung in the air, Sarah felt the spark of aspiration ignite again. She wasn't merely answering questions, she was reconstructing the narrative, stitching together her ambition and authenticity into a tapestry of dreams. Her heart raced for a different reason now. It wasn't about fear, it was about potential, about what she could achieve, given the right allies. Could this be the moment where everything changed? But just as Sarah dared to entertain that thought, the new investor's gaze flared with scrutiny, and for the first time, he seemed to draw back slightly. "We'll consider your ideas carefully," he said sharply. "But keep in mind the stakes rise as we venture further into uncharted waters." A chill swept through her. Did he sense her growing confidence, her internal shift? Had she revealed too much of her ambition, inevitably drawing scrutiny from the strongest critic in the room? As she weighed the implications, Sarah knew that this was merely the beginning. The quest for validation had morphed into a fervor for transformation, both personal and professional. Yet fresh doubts knotted her stomach. What if this unexpected scrutiny marked the tipping point? Should she brace for a setback or gather her courage to push ahead? With the stakes sky high, Sarah realized she was caught at a crossroads. She could either retract into herself or plunge into the uncertainty, ready to challenge every limit she thought she had. And as she stood at that precipice, she felt the echo of one simple truth resonate in her mind. Growth was never easy, but it was the only path forward worth taking. What unforeseen challenges lay ahead as she decided whether to fight or retreat? The haze of uncertainty began to lift. With each subsequent meeting, Sarah molded the vision of her bakery into something more tangible. It was no longer merely a dream, but a robust enterprise infused with her passions, experiences, and aspirations. As the final negotiations with the investors approached, she recognized the transformative journey she had undertaken, one not solely defined by the outcome of that pivotal meeting, but by the courage she had discovered within herself. On the day of the investors' final decision, Sarah walked into the conference room with a newfound confidence that emanated from her core. Each step felt like a declaration of her readiness. Positioned at the center of her purpose, she realized this endeavor was about more than just financial support. It was about validating her journey from waitress to entrepreneur, from single mother to architect of her family's future. As the investors assembled, the air buzzed with anticipation. The lead investor, who had so engaged with her on numerous occasions, began, "Sarah, we appreciate the depth you've provided in your proposal. You are not stepping into this venture without awareness. You have successfully articulated both your fears and aspirations. We believe in your ability to create something significant. Therefore, we'd like to extend an offer, $75,000 in exchange for a 15% stake in your business." A surge of emotion washed over Sarah. The number was more than she had ever imagined. It was a moment where dreams converged with reality, visions coalesced into concrete steps towards fulfillment. With each breath, she could feel her resolve harden. "I accept," she stated clearly, the finality ringing in the air like the resounding chime of a bell. And with that acceptance, something in Sarah shifted permanently. There was no turning back. The investors' nods confirmed what she hadn't fully grasped until now. She had chiseled her own identity in the furnace of adversity. Each doubt, each obstacle, and each moment spent building confidence had led to this milestone. She had not only earned financial backing but also respect and affirmation from individuals who saw her potential. As the weeks turned to months, Sarah navigated the challenges of launching her bakery with tenacity. She formed her business plan, reached out to local suppliers, and designed a marketing strategy that catered specifically to her community. The initial hurdles were many: navigating permits, gathering a team, sourcing ingredients. But with every obstacle, she found ingenuity. The mere act of executing these plans illuminated her path and bolstered her self-assurance. She was crafting more than simply pastry. She was shaping an environment of warmth and inclusivity. The bakery's grand opening day arrived, a culmination of years of dreaming and relentless effort. As families flowed through the door, taking solace in the aroma of baked goods, Sarah felt an overwhelming surge of fulfillment. Surrounded by Mia and the community she so dearly loved, she understood that her victory lay not in the bakery itself but in the tangible legacy she was building for her daughter. This was about future aspirations, about showing Mia that there was strength in pursuing dreams against the tides of life. As Sarah stood behind the counter, the strings of her heart intertwined with the laughter and joyous conversations shared in her bakery. Jack watched from a distance, pride glittering in his eyes as he saw her flourish into the woman she had always been meant to be. Their paths had crossed in profound ways. His encouragement had catalyzed her transformation. In this moment, Sarah felt a solid confidence, an established position in both her professional life and as a mother. She was no longer just surviving, she had genuinely arrived at a new chapter marked by achievement, recognition, and most importantly, personal growth. And there she stood, a single mom with a bustling bakery, having navigated through fear and adversity, confronting every obstacle head-on. She had proven, not just to investors but to herself, that she was capable of creating her own narrative where success was not merely chance but choice. Now more than ever, Sarah wanted to impart this journey to the world beyond her bakery doors. As she beamed at Mia, who was enthusiastically frosting cupcakes, she knew that this realization was perfect not just for her but for anyone with a dream. She yearned for her story to resonate with others, to inspire and uplift. At that defining moment, in her thriving bakery surrounded by love, possibility, and purpose, Sarah knew it was time to share her experience, a call to action reflecting the significance each of us have in pursuing our dreams. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that reflect transformative journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it truly makes a difference. Comment your thoughts and theories about Sarah's incredible journey. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. This is your moment to show your unwavering support for stories of personal triumph. Don't wait even one more second to share this message.